Hello, and this is my review of the new 2025 Kia EV6. So this is the brand new 2025 Kia EV6. Now Kia launched this new model in September 2024. It is slightly more expensive than the outgoing model, but we do have some updated technology. Now the design has been improved as well, so we've got some new headlights down here. The interior has been modernised as well, so we've got a brand new steering wheel, some updated technology and some different materials as well. And the battery is a bit larger than before, offering more range and faster charging too. Most of the changes to the new EV6 have been made to the front end, the most obvious one being the headlights. So with the old model, we had a more traditional headlight shape, just one complete unit, whereas on this new one, it is a split shape instead, and much more slimmer as well. We've also got some more aggressive design on the grille down here, and that's pretty much it. This one is the GT-Line, so it doesn't have the front-facing camera, but all versions of the EV6 do come with front and rear parking sensors as standard. Now underneath the bonnet is thankfully a Frunk. Not many EVs have that nowadays, so I'll just open this up. Now underneath this one, because this one is the rear drive model, this one has a really generous 52 litres of space. So underneath here, you could get all sorts of items in there. Kia suggests putting a laptop in there out of the prying eyes of the public, but you can also get the chargers in there. So if you have got a full-on boot full of holiday equipment and suitcases, you can at least hide the charging cables away in there. It is worth mentioning though that if you do get the all-wheel drive version, you only get 20 litres, which is not that much. So it's not very useful for much, but the rear-wheel drive models do get a lot more space, thankfully. Around the back, the EV6 hasn't really changed at all, but really, why mess with something that works quite well? There might be some little tiny design flares and touches that have changed, but generally it's exactly the same. The front end is the one that has changed the most, really. So what we have got up here is the spoiler, which helps improve the air efficiency of the vehicle. Got a nice big tinted rear window with no rear wiper at all still, which is a little bit unfortunate. We have also got some nice diamond patterns down here and some black contrasting down the bottom. We've got a nice big light bar here with a brake light built in, Kia logo, and then we also have got a reversing camera and reversing parking sensors. Both of those come as standard on every version of the Kia EV6, which is really, really good to see. What doesn't come as standard on this trim, however, is a smart tailgate or electronic tailgate. Both the Air and the GT-Line versions have a manual tailgate as standard. And in my opinion, I find it a little bit quicker to open. You've got to faff around and kick underneath and open it up and different things, but you can just click a button, go whoop, and it opens up by itself. What we have got in here is a respectable amount of space, if not, it's not really class leading. What it is 490 litres. And if you fold these seats down, that extends to 1,290 litres. So it's not quite as impressive as its rivals, but it is a really good amount of space, and it should swallow up all of your kids' bits and bobs. Now underneath here, what we have got is a little bit of storage. We've got space for the Type 2 charging cable, and that lifts up a little bit. You can get a bit more stuff in there if you want to. And then underneath this tiny bit here, we have got a bit more space for the tyre mobility kit. So that's pretty decent. We have got a 12-volt socket over here, and we have got some handles to fold down the rear seats. So this makes my review process a little bit easier because I'm going to walk around the car to put the seats down. So we pull these handles here, that goes down with a nice big thunk, and so does that one, and that extends to 1,290 litres. So really, really decent space. Also, like the Genesis GV60, it's got it as well. Got a load cover here, which you can nicely lock in place if you can do it right on camera the first time. There we go. And what you can do is remove this whole window, this whole wall, sorry, and you can take it out and put it somewhere else if you want to get bigger things in from IKEA. But generally, really, really good amount of space back there, and can't really fault it. It's not as large as its rivals, as I said, but it is a really decent amount of space. Now the charging and battery are one of the main highlights on the Kia EV6. It's on the same eGMP platform as the Hyundai Ioniq 5. So that means we've got really, really good efficiency, an 800 volt battery pack, but also really, really rapid charging too. This one's also got a larger 84 kilowatt hour battery pack, and that's up from the previous 77.4 kilowatt hours we had in the old EV6. Charging speed has also greatly improved. We've now got 258 kilowatt DC peak versus 239 on the old EV6. That's an increase of 8%. We've still got 11 kilowatt AC support, which means 10 to 80% takes about 7.5 hours. And DC charging from 10 to 80% can now be done in just 18 minutes. The charging socket is also quite well hidden. It's at the rear right of the vehicle. Just press this button here, opens up by itself, and we have got a Type 2 socket at the top. And if you remove this bung here, it turns into a combo CCS2. That's how you do your DC charging. What's also really nice is that Kia has included this button here, which helps force remove any stuck charging cables, but also there's a button there to close the door. Pretty cool. In the front interior, the changes have been ever so slightly less substantial than we see on the exterior front. The biggest change is the new steering wheel. This is now a oblongy shape. It's sort of like a octagon sort of shape, much like the Kia EV9. I think it's actually the same steering wheel. The old EV6 had that really round steering wheel, which now looks quite old-fashioned in comparison. You'll also find this wheel on the EV3 and probably any future EVs that Kia make. Now, there's the trademark Kia Hyundai Genesis group. We've got the two 12.3-inch infotainment screens. One is for the infotainment and one is for the driver's information. This screen is really, really easy to use. It tells you front and center your current trip information, and you can cycle through those and get access to tyre pressures, the trip A and the efficiency you've done. And then when you're driving along, you've got the live bar of efficiency. This one is the GT-Line, so we do miss having the cameras in the mirrors. If you want that, you would have to go to the GT-Line S, and that adds the 360-degree camera system, so when you indicate, you are missing the blind spot little window, which is a bit unfortunate. Apple CarPlay is thankfully wireless, as is Android Auto, and you've got Kia's CCNC software platform. I've got a full guide live now on the Interface Cars channel, where I take a good look at the infotainment screen and also the Kia Connect app. There's a link in the description down below for that. Overall, it's really, really good. It works really, really well. The app, as I said, is just outstanding. There aren't many apps for vehicles that actually work properly, let alone Tesla's probably the only one that actually works properly. So Kia, Genesis and Hyundai have the same basic app, essentially. It works really, really well. What Kia has done is been a little bit adventurous. I've not seen this before on a vehicle. So typically what Kia vehicles have is some physical buttons along here, and they have like media, home, there's a star shortcut button. The EV3 and the EV9 actually have haptic buttons for those. And what they have done is integrated that inside of the climate control. So thankfully, Kia has retained some physical buttons for climate control, which is really good. So we've actually got a knob here for the temperature on the passenger side, a knob here for the passenger or the driver's side, and we can select all those options. But there is a little button here, so we can switch between the modes. So once you click this little arrow button, it becomes the infotainment shortcuts. So we've got some shortcuts there for the climate still, but we've got volume here, really, really rare to see, which is really good. Tune buttons, but also file, and there's some shortcuts for the climate control and shortcuts for the infotainment. It's really, really well done. And then just switch between that to get back to the climate, and job's done. Now, in the middle here, we have got a floating plinth. We see this in the GV60 as well. And we have got the start-stop button for the car itself, got heated steering wheel and heated seat buttons. This one doesn't have ventilated seats. You will have to go to the GT-Line S for that, which is a massive issue. We have got the gear selector down here. We've also got some various buttons for controlling the auto hold and the parking cameras. And then there's a wireless phone charging pad, which is really good. And it's quite rubbery, so your phone's not going to move around the whole time, which is good. In the middle as well, there is a nice big storage bin that goes really, really far down, which is really good. And there's two decent sized cup holders, and they hold relatively large cups, which is really, really good. Now, much like the EV9 as well, we have got a nice big bin in here. So there is a little pen holder as well, which is quite strange. But nice big bin to hold your McDonald's and bags and things and your girlfriend's handbag. So that's really, really good. There is also a USB-C charging port in there. And there's two USB-C charging ports in the middle there. And again, much like the EV9 and other Kia models, you can select what that left-hand side USB-C charging port does. So you can choose to have data plus charging, or just charging, which is really, really good. And then the port glows white for charging and orange for data. So if you want to charge your phone off one of those ports but use Apple CarPlay wirelessly, you can do. So that's really, really good. There is also a 180 watt, 12 watt socket there too. Looking down here, we have got some buttons for the handbrake, traction control, and then a really, really handy button to adjust the brightness of the screens. So It has got auto brightness functionality, and it does work relatively well, but for those times where it's a bit too bright at night time or a bit too dim in the daytime, there's a little handy shortcut button to increase the brightness of both screens. So really, really handy. Down here, got two buttons for different driver profiles. So your partner can have driver 2, or you can have driver 1, and you can have different preferences, such as who's logged into their Kia Connect app and what seating position you have and what temperatures on the climate control. So that's really, really good. And then finally down here, we have got some lots and lots of physical buttons, which is really good to see, for the mirror controls. You can lock and unlock all the doors, and you've got 4 window switches. So that's pretty good as well. There is something a little bit strange. So I don't know if you can pick up on the camera, but there's a speaker in the middle of the vehicle, or a vent, and that does reflect quite heavily in the windscreen on a very sunny day. So at the moment it's April 2nd. It's quite a bright day today. I've noticed even when driving around that this grille just reflects in the windscreen. So that's a little bit of a pain. If you can look past that and just look through it essentially while you're driving. But I know that can bother a few people. And then there is also this plasticky, rubbery material. It's almost like a woven material. It looks like fake carbon fibre, but it's like almost like cardboard, the texture of it. Not entirely sure what that's made out of. But it looks quite sporty because this is the GT line, and there is it also on there. The seats are fake leather, so they're not real leather. They're sort of artificial leather. These aren't ventilated, they're just heated, and they do electronically move. And we have got sort of easy entry support as well. Overall, the quality in here is not quite as premium as something like the Onyx 6, for example, but it's a really, really good blend of practicality and sort of hard-wearing materials. Maybe not quite as good as the Genesis or the Hyundai models, but it is really, really good nonetheless. In the back, there's actually tons and tons of space. As you can see here, I've got loads of room between the front seat and my knees here, and this seat is set up for my driving position, and I'm around 5'7" in height. We've got really, really loads and loads of space. And these seats are actually really, really quite large. So you'll have no trouble fitting 3 people in here, no problem. This central seat is also a decent size. And because they've got a flat floor as well, you can see I've got no real problems. And my whole body seems to fit on the front bit there. So that's quite good. Now these seats aren't ventilated and they aren't heated. If you want heated seats in the back, you will have to go for the GT-Line S. You can't really spec any options on the EV6 either, but nonetheless it is pretty good. Now for the charging ports, it took me a little second to find them. So much like the EV9, they're in the seat backs. So we haven't got any charging ports down here, but we've got them in the seats there, and there's 2 USB-C ports for charging devices and keeping kids entertained on the road. There's also some air vents in the A pillar here, or the B pillar, so that will give you a good amount of fresh air in. There's some little lights in the top there, seem pretty good quality. And there's also some grab handles with some little coat hooks, and we've got electric window switches and some nice little ambient bits of lighting there. In the central bit here, we have got a fold-out armrest, and there's a tiny little hatch which gives you a bit of access to the boot, so loading bits of wood in the EV6 might not be that much of a problem. And then also 2 cup holders in here, decently sized. And what we can do is actually fold these cup holders away and store a phone in there potentially, which is quite good. And well, potentially 2 phones actually, and I can turn that into a cup holder as well. So in the back, it's actually really, really practical and surprisingly good quality too. So what's the Kia EV6 actually like to drive? Well, on the outset, it's a really big, comfortable electric family SUV. The ride is a tad jiggly over certain types of roads. So in comparison to the Hyundai Onyx 6, for example, of which the 2 cars are quite related, there's a little bit of harshness in the ride. The wheels on this one are pumped up quite high with pressure. So the back ones are at 38 PSI and the front ones are at 37. Not 100% sure if that's impacting the ride quality at all, but over certain lesser good quality roads that we have in the UK, it can be a tad jiggly, but generally it's absolutely fine and nothing really to complain about. Generally the whole ride is quite smooth on roads that are finished properly. The steering's nice and light, and there's not really any body roll, so going around this corner at 25 mile an hour, it just turns in properly and there's no real sort of drama. It's all quite normal really. Now, being an electric vehicle, there isn't much noise happening in the cabin here. Once you get to 60 and 70 mile an hour, there still isn't much wind noise happening and not much tyre roar either. The wheels fitted to this one, they're not overly large, but then the tyres themselves, there's a lot of tread available, which is really, really good. And that's probably helping sort of get rid of some of the noise that you usually would have. The door mirrors here aren't overly large, but they have got a pointy shape at the end, which should help improve the airflow around the mirrors, and again help improve the air noise and sort of the wind noise you get in most vehicles. So what's quite nice is we have quite flexible regen options on the EV6, and this is the same thing on the Ioniq 5 and the GV60 and that sort of stuff. What we can do is set the regen to automatic, and that will basically work out, based on the descent of the hill or the navigation, what is the best mode to have the regen in, and that can be set in the infotainment screen, which is quite nice. What I tend to do is have it in manual mode. So we have got two paddles here. The left one is increasing the amount of regen all the way up to level 4, and then the right one is sort of decreasing the regen. So at the moment I've got it in level 0, and it's just coasting, so there's no slowdown at all. It's just coasting like an automatic would. You've got level 1 here, so left one there, bit of regen. Got level 2, bit more regen, and then level 3, and then level 4 is what they call iPedal Max. And that's essentially one pedal driving. So you don't really need to use the brake pedal at all, and it will just bring you to a complete stop. What's quite cool as well is if you plan it properly, if you go down a hill, you can, what I like to call, dance around the regen, and you can effectively not use the brake or the accelerator and just coast down a hill, and what you can do is see how many miles you recoup for free, essentially. Now, what you just heard there is the alert systems, and what Kia and Hyundai have done with a recent software update is quite cool. So sometimes the EV6 will read a speed limit sign that's not applicable to the road you're on. So imagine you're going through a village, there's a road to the left that's 30, you're on a 40, it will pick up that 30 and then run with it. It doesn't happen all the time, but it happens enough of the time to be a little bit of a nuisance. So what they have done is added a mute button. The mute button on the steering wheel obviously mutes the media that's playing, but you can hold it down and it will get rid of all the speed limit warnings. What it won't do is get rid of the warning that tells you you're entering a new speed limit zone. So if I slow down to the actual speed limit here, and then you'll hear a beep. So there wasn't a beep, but what I had done is, in the software the other day, I had changed it to not alert me when you enter a new speed limit zone. I assumed that was going to be always on, so every time you restart the vehicle it would then be always on again, but as it happens that isn't, which is a really, really good thing. So in my infotainment guide, which I did a separate video on of this vehicle, I did go over all the settings, which I'll link to in the video description, and you can set the speed limit change tone to be off or on. What this mute button will do, if you hold that down, you'll see a message on the screen here. So speed limit warning is off, and there's a little cross next to the 40 zone. The other alert you're hearing is the lane assist feature, or the sort of lane departure warning system. You can also disable that really, really easily because it is a little bit sensitive at times. If you hold down this steering wheel button with the two lines next to it, the little icon here should go from green to orange, and that will tell you that it's not going to bother you with those alerts anymore, which is really, really good. So looking at the tech makeup on this particular one, so this one is the EV6 GT-Line. And the Air and the GT-Line come with HDA, or Highway Driver Assistance version 1. And what that means is you'll just get cruise control and you'll get lane keep assist, or keep in the middle of the lane. If you go for the GT-Line S, what that adds is version 2, and that gives you some information about the vehicles nearby. So when you're driving on the motorway, you'll get the blind spot systems will be also apparent on the screen here. It'll tell you where the vehicles are in your vicinity. But what it will also do is enable some other motorway speed limit and lane change assist features. So on the motorway, if you indicate left or right, it will, so long as you keep hold of the steering wheel loosely, it will change lanes for you and then take care of the indication and turn that off for you. That's really, really cool. On other vehicles like the Ioniq 6, that comes as standard, and the Genesis GV60, that is an optional pack. But on the EV6, it's just a thing that comes on the GT-Line S only. So bear that in mind if you're looking to purchase the Air or the GT-Line, that these two models don't come with all the features, and you do have to go for the spec up from this one to get some extra driving features. Personally, I quite like the features that are in version 2. They aren't a deal breaker. The ones that come on version 1 are really clever. There are certain things it won't do, so it won't pick up the speed limit in a motorway zone, and it won't bring the cruise control down to an acceptable level. But yeah, bear that in mind. Go and test drive one if you're interested in checking out the differences between the two modes. So for efficiency, Kia quotes 3.9 miles per kilowatt hour on the combined WLTC cycle. And I've been getting 3.8 miles per kilowatt hour. And the temperatures outside have been varying from 9 degrees all the way up to 18 degrees like it is today. And I think that's pretty good. 12.5 hours of driving, 380 miles of driving as well. And I haven't really been trying to get the most efficiency. I've been running it in max regen mode the whole time and also in eco mode. So that might have a bearing on how it's been doing. When you're in town, it's been getting 5 miles per kilowatt hour because obviously you're going a bit slower. And that is in tune with what Kia quote for that as well. Also at 100% state of charge, it has been showing 340 miles of range, which is about in line with what they quote for the entire car, which is about 360. So I think that's pretty good, really. And then lastly, the performance. So the EV6 comes in 2 different motors. This one is the rear-wheel drive with 225 brake horsepower. 0 to 60 is in around 7.7 seconds, and we get a top speed of 115 miles per hour, which is plenty for the UK roads. You can get the GT-Line and the GT-Line S in a all-wheel drive version with about 320 brake horsepower. Top speed is about the same, but 0 to 60 drops from 7.7 to around 5 seconds, so it's quite a big jump. So acceleration here, what I'm going to do is come to a complete stop once the road opens up a little bit, and then I'll knock the car into sport mode. So while we're waiting for the road to open up, we get normal, eco, sport, my drive, which you can customize, and then snow mode. But I usually have been having the car in eco mode. It does tend to perform a little bit better. Just gives it a bit more regen and uses less power and a bit more efficient as well. So let's come to a complete stop here, and we'll test the 0 to 60 quickly. So knock the car into sport mode, and still 3, 2, 1, go. Whoa! And there's 60. So it's definitely not absolutely rapid, but it is quite brisk nonetheless. I can imagine the all-wheel drive version with the even more power be quite fast, but for most people this is going to be absolutely fine. So what do I think of the Kia EV6 for 2025? Well, overall, I am really impressed with what Kia has done with the new EV6. It's really efficient. It's got really impressive charging speed, really impressive range, and I've been getting nearly 4 miles per kilowatt hour. The only thing really on the downside is the price tag. You seem to have to pay a lot of money to get the options you want. You have to get the GT-Line S for most of the options you want, really. Whereas something like a Genesis, you can pick and choose the options you get and pay potentially a little bit less for the same vehicle. So that's a little bit unfortunate, but I do understand it makes the building process a little bit more complicated. And yeah, it is what you get with each trim level. The ride also is a little bit firm compared to its rivals. Even the Ioniq range, this is a little bit firm in comparison to those. And also the technology is really impressive. You get that really impressive dual 12.3-inch infotainment screen. You get the Kia Connect app, which works really well polished. A lot of cool features in there too. And yeah, it's a really well performing car. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'd love to know what you think about the new 2025 Kia EV6. Please subscribe to Interface Cars. My name's Alex, and I'll see you again next time.